Right, and you know, the old axiom is a lawyer never asks a question that he doesn't already know the answer to. I find George, I heard you and Ryan talking earlier, and I have a different opinion of George Anthony than you do, Susan. I have found him to be very, very combative and disingenuous in his answer. I think he's trying to play the martyr card. And, you know, granted, he's up there, he's on the defense, he's being implicated by the defense. But I've just found his, you know, I won't let you trick me the first day he was testifying. His answers are a little cagey. He didn't just come out and say no. He said, I would never do anything like that. Not just an emphatic no, I didn't do it. But, you know, right now, Baez is running the risk of alienating the jury. I think what he's trying to do is get George really jacked up and tense to provoke a confrontation to see if he can get George to blurt anything out. And that's another classic, you know, lawyer trick. I hope this isn't it because, you know, we were expecting a lot out of Ray Kronc's testimony yesterday, and I was watching that in the office, and that kind of fell short. And even if Ray Kronk moved the body, it doesn't change the allegation that, you know, Casey killed her or Casey and her father accidentally killed her or she drowned in the pool. I mean, we're all hoping to see Casey take the stand because that's going to be the big moment. But who knows what's going to happen. I mean, I hear we have 4 witnesses left, and, you know, it's a crapshoot. You object if it's hurting your case. If George Anthony goes off on a tangent and ends up implicating himself, you know, yay. But if it's hurting your case and it's not doing anything for you, then you're going to object and you're going to try to put a stop to it, because usually it's self-serving anyway. You know, that's a good question. I've noticed that the state is getting more and more agitated as this thing is drawn out, and I think mostly because Baez's case seems to be more disorganized than the state's case. The state's been very methodical. There have been a lot of scattershot witnesses the last few weeks who come on for a few questions here, a few questions there. They go, they come back. So I think that's a little frustrating for the defense. George Anthony is really the state's witness here. They were the first one to call him. Clearly, there's an antagonism between Baez and George Anthony. So whoever ends up questioning George Anthony, cross-examining him here, is certainly going to be more sympathetic and, you know, take an easier line with him than Baez did. Yeah, that's his case. I mean, it's not like you're being antagonistic with Cindy, who I believe is the most sympathetic witness in this whole mess. She's the mother, her granddaughter's dad, her daughter's implicated. She's broken down in the stand already. She's had emotional issues. She's been on medication. George Anthony's been up there, and he's kind of been this brick. And so attacking him, I don't think is really going to hurt the defense because he's trying to provoke a reaction. Yep. Yeah. I'm not heartless. I got to admit that's you know, that's tough to watch. I think he just did a very good job of becoming a lot more sympathetic. Obviously, he's Ashton's witness, so he's. Ashton's going to question him a lot, you know, less stringently than Baez did. But that was really difficult to watch. And in terms of Casey's reaction, you know, she's the one saying that her father is more responsible for this than anybody else. So I'm kind of not surprised that she's not reacting to him, that she's not breaking down, because clearly there's some animosity there between her and her father. But that's a tough moment to watch, and that's, yeah. Sure, and Jose Baez opened the door, as attorneys say, and Ashton's walking through it. He's trying to bring in the suicide note itself because he's saying that it pretty much destroys the whole defense theory that he didn't know that his daughter, his granddaughter was dead up until they found the body, that he had anything to do with it. So getting that note in is very important to the state. The defense is probably going to argue that, like most of Mr. Anthony's testimony, this note is disingenuous, it's self-serving. It's part of, you know, the plot of the cover-up. Certainly, Ashton's prepared. He's got his case law ready. His first hearsay exception, we got cut off. I heard the first. He had 2 points he was trying to make. One had to do with then existing state of mind. He writes a suicide note. If you're really intending to kill yourself, what you put in that letter is fair game because it's taken to be honest and forthright. The defense is obviously going to argue that maybe he wasn't really trying to continue trying to kill himself. Maybe this was just part of trying to cover up that the whole incident happened, and he, you know, the letter itself is disingenuous. So I'm sure you're going to see some cross-examination on that. Baez hinted that there was some expression of guilt in this letter, but now he's trying to not get the letter in. But I'm fairly certain Judge Perry, given how he's ruled in this case, this letter is going to get in. Not during an argument like this, they shouldn't be. Yeah, well, obviously we have to know what's in the note first, and we don't know that yet, but it looks like it's probably going to be read in open court. For the state side, it's good for the jury because if they believe it's genuine, if they're genuinely sympathetic with Mr. Anthony, they're going to believe that he was distraught over finally discovering that his granddaughter was dead. He did try to kill himself, and it's going to help the state because it takes off that guilt that the defense is trying to put on him. The defense's side, they're trying to make his testimony disingenuous. They're trying to make him look guilty. They're going to say this is self-serving. This was done after the fact, and it was just a ploy to try to cover up his involvement in Kaylee's death. Yeah, that's exactly the kind of testimony that has made me feel he was disingenuous from day one. That kind of sparring, that one-upsmanship, and that martyrdom that he's putting out there up until his breakdown in the stand this morning, that's the way his character has been, and I found that to be off-putting. I don't know how the jury's going to feel about that. No, he's very methodical. He's very very scholarly in his research. I mean, you're seeing him up there as he's making decisions, as arguments going on. You can see his printer going, and he's pulling pages off of that printer. So he knows these issues are coming up, and he knows he's going to have to deal with them. He's doing his own research. I think it was a nice little grenade that Ashton threw there. I just caught that, saying when he made his objection in front of the jury that the best evidence of the document is the document. And now you've got the defense not putting the document in. That's going to look fishy to the jury, especially when the state's got their rebuttal case coming up. They're going to put it in their rebuttal case. Jury's going to look askance at that and go, well, if the best evidence is a document, why didn't Baez want it in?